I was trying to figure out who I was as a person and deciding whether I was worthy enough to live or not.
Meet Alicia Meneses-Maples.
You're here. I am so happy to see you.
Her TEDx talk has set a global viral trend about glass children. She's helped millions of hurting glass children around the world feel seen. You've seen her on NBC, CNN.com, and countless online articles. Here is your host, Alicia Meneses-Maples.
Welcome to the I See Glass Children podcast. This is the place where we boldly dig into all things related to the glass child experience. We own our stories without shame, we pursue our healing, and we claim our value independent of others' thoughts, feelings, or expectations. Because you are important to me, I have to give you a warning. Some of the things you hear on the I See Glass Children podcast may be triggering for you, especially if you experience childhood trauma and neglect. And while I will occasionally have mental health professionals as special guests, I am not a licensed therapist, and this podcast is never meant to be a substitute for a supportive and healing relationship with a professional counselor. I'm your host, Alicia Meneses-Maples. I am a glass child, and I see you. Hello, everyone. My name is Alicia Meneses-Maples, and I would like to welcome you to the I See Glass Children podcast. And in this episode, I'm excited to introduce you to Abigail Williams. Hi, Abby.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being on our podcast today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So you are here because we want to learn more about your story and what it was like for you growing up as a glass child. Tell us a little bit about your siblings' diagnosis or behaviors, if you would.
So my brother, he's 2 years older than me. He has Down syndrome, and he's been a pretty easy guy, growing up and whatnot. Not a lot of behaviors, some stubbornness and whatnot. But, as he is getting older, we are now heading into some health problems, like beginning dementia. And with that is coming some, I'll say, interesting choice-making decisions for his part that we're having to watch for and having to correct some behavior just in terms of how he's interacting with people and being stubborn and whatnot.
Yeah. Abby, how old are you?
I'm 43.
And your
he's
brother?
45.
He's 45. Okay. All right. So, Abby, when you were growing up, when did you first notice that there was something different about your brother?
I don't know the answer to that question. He's, I think I always kind of knew. We were in daycare from a really young age. So, I had exposure to all sorts of children. And I think I always knew that my brother was different. Definitely by the time I hit school age, I was aware that he was, special needs.
Yeah. And so do you have a particular memory when it kind of clicked for you that your brother wasn't like some of your other friends' brothers?
Yeah, yes. And I don't know how old I was. Maybe 5 or 6, but I remember that because he and I were very close, but there were some kids in our neighborhood that were making fun of him. And I'm not a violent person, and I'm not a conflictual person at all, but it was one of the first times that I was just absolutely enraged that anyone was making fun of my brother and, in my feeling like they wanted to hurt him by making fun of him, and screamed at these kids and tried to hit one of them. And that was a moment where I remember definitely learning, like, okay, I got to protect my brother, like, because he's different.
Right.
Yeah.
And because he couldn't defend himself.
Exactly.
It's interesting. I've done several interviews today, and you are the second person who has said to me that that moment of realization came
Hmm.
from somebody in the neighborhood making fun of your sibling.
Yeah.
And I think, how sad that that's the moment, right?
Yeah.
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 As you were growing up, um, tell me how you interacted with your brother. What was your relationship like?
He and I were incredibly close, especially when we were tiny. And we did almost like we were twins. We did everything together. And we shared a room. So that helped. But he was absolutely my person. And I would, if my mom, because my mom was a single mom, so if my mom was mad at me and yelling at me, right, he would get up in her face and tell her, yell my sister Abby, and kind of defend me. And I would not. I mean, and my mom wouldn't yell at him, so it helped a lot. But we were just really thick as thieves, and he always always protected me. I changed the spelling of my name because he couldn't figure out how to spell it the way I spelled it. So I just changed
Mhm.
it to what he did. And there's always been a closeness there. And always, I mean, and caretaking on my part too for him, right? Just if he needed medication, I'd help get him his medication,
Mhm.
help convince him to do the things he didn't want to do
Right.
that my mom needed him to do, stuff like that. And it got harder as we got into teenager kind of years. He did one of the few areas in my life I feel regret about, but I did push him away because he was different. And when we moved to my dad's house, it wasn't a great situation for us. And so I did a lot of kind of pushing him away and uh trying to identify who I was as a person. And so didn't give him the attention that I would have liked to given him.
Um, I hear so much regret in your voice.
Hmm.
Do you think that was a part of typical young adult development?
I think part of it was just knowing the human development thing as teenagers, we all have to create our own identity. And I think part of it was not, especially kind of once we moved into our dad's house, just kind of buckling through and trying to kind of get through those teenage years unscathed, and not knowing how to defend him or be close with him. We went to different schools. I tried to stay out of the house as much as I could, stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't know. Some of it, and some of it was just me needing to protect myself during those years.
I just want to affirm to you, and maybe this helps you, maybe you need it, maybe you don't. But I think one of the common things that we struggle with as glass children is the idea of boundaries and
Hmm.
saying no. Like if you look in typical families, and I don't know if you have children or not and you see this, but siblings have no problems saying no to each other. Like
Right.
that's a thing. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not going to do that. What do you think I am? Who do you think you are? I mean, no issues at all with boundaries. But in high needs families, um, there tends to be a lot of responsibility and pressure. And so when we say no, when we try to pursue, as you just said, our identity as an independent person, independent of our siblings, which happens all the time in typical families, we start to feel some guilt and some shame around it. And I just want to say to you, Abby, that I don't know all the details of what was going on in your life back then, but it sounds like to me that you had an immense amount of love for your brother
Mhm.
and you needed to set a boundary. And
Yes. Yeah.
that's okay. That's
Thank you.
okay.
Yeah. Thank you. I did need to hear that. So thank you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. You're welcome. I've said what I'm going to say to you in almost every interview that I've done. And I hope this is something that you can carry with you. I'm not a mental health professional. I'm not trying to be a counselor here. This is just something that has helped me on my healing journey as I reflect on things in the past. Like it's possible to hold two truths at the same time, right? So
Yeah.
the truth of, I love my brother so much, and the truth of, I need to set a boundary. Those
Yeah.
two things can coexist and it's okay.
Yeah. I think you're spot on with that. So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So I'm curious to know how the way that you grew up, and we haven't gotten a lot into it, but I know that there are some painful memories. I can see that there are some painful memories. How did they impact you as you were growing up in your teenage years?
um, you know, yeah. Actually, I have to say, ultimately, in a very positive way.
Okay.
Um, when Yeah, I think so. We moved in with our dad and his family when we were, I think, 14 and 16. And so I had already started into kind of the teenage rebellion phase. So going from, as a kid, really being supportive of Sean and helping my mom and kind of shouldering a lot of the responsibility in the household because single mom in the 80s trying to make it work, right?
Yeah.
And I had been acting out and I was not, oh my gosh, I was not even going to school a lot of the time and, sneaking out of the house and making terrible choices. Once we did move into my dad's house and kind of, I actually got a really good taste of what life would be like if I continued on the path I was on. And so I kind of buckled down, ended up getting really good grades into high school and graduating. And ironically, the only way that I could see to get out of living with it in my dad's house or my situation was to go away to college, which I had no interest in, right?
Yeah.
But it was how I could get out. And so because of that, I've been able to, I went through college, I have a successful career, and I live a life that I'm proud of now. And I'm not sure any of that would happen if all that painful stuff hadn't happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What a beautiful story.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm so happy for you. This is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Well, I want to read, if it's okay with you, I'll give you some background. In my years of doing advocacy work, there have been some common themes that have come across, and I've put them into statement form. And so I'd like to read some of those to you and get your reaction. Some of them you may relate to, some of them you may not, and that's fine. There's no right or wrong answer. But when I say something that hits you, I'd love it if you would just kind of stop me so that you could respond. Would that be okay?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so this is all for when you were 18 years of age or younger. All right. So
Okay.
when I express difficult emotions, my caregivers told me things like, stop crying, calm down, you're overreacting.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was very, very common for me. And I learned to not act out and learn to not have big emotions. Absolutely.
Yeah.
From a young age.
Young at like what age would you say?
Oh, I probably remember being conscious about wanting to make myself not a problem, if that makes sense. Probably about, I don't know, 9 or 10. Remembering having that thought.
Yeah. So let's contextualize that just a little bit for our listeners, because we're going to have a mix of listeners to this podcast. We're going to have people who are adult glass children who completely understand what you just said, like
Mhm.
no explanation needed. We're going to have parents who are going to go, I'm not sure. And we're going to have people who did not grow up in a high needs family, did not have a high needs family, who aren't necessarily understanding. So if I can give some context to what you
Please.
said, I would say that, and don't let me put words in your mouth. Feel free to jump in and correct or add or whatever. Okay, Abby.
Okay.
So there are times that we feel like as children, we don't want to add more problems to the family dynamic.
That's 1,000% it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we see everything that's happening. We're very intuitive about what's going on. And we recognize that our sibling has issues and needs help. We recognize that our parent or parents have issues and need help. And so the last thing that we want to do is become another source of problem or pain.
Oh, exactly. Exactly that. Yeah.
Okay. And so that's kind of, I wanted to give that context for you saying you were trying to make yourself and any issues you had as small as possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
exactly the reason I was doing that.
When I express difficult emotions, my caregivers punished me, isolated me, grounded me.
No, I don't, that I might have been grounded once or twice, but no.
Good.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yes.
I love to hear that. Um, as a child, I did not feel comfortable or safe sharing when I was sad, afraid, or angry.
1,000%.
Okay. You want to talk
Um,
about that?
yeah, I really, and again, it really goes back to the, not wanting, not wanting to be a problem for anybody. And not wanting to add on to, what my mom was already dealing with. But when I expressed myself, I didn't feel like, it was taken all that seriously.
Oh, mhm.
That it wasn't a big enough deal, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I feel that. Did you believe it was selfish to bring up a difficult emotion?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Hmm.
Okay. So these things that I just read to you fall under the category of emotional invalidation. And so when we're kids, having that having that safe space where we can talk to our parents about what we're feeling and how we're feeling is really important to our development, because our parents can tell us things like it's okay, or it's going to get better, or it wasn't your fault, and I love you, and provide comfort and things like that. And when we believe that our emotions are not as important as anybody else's, or even sometimes that our emotions are invalid, we lose that opportunity to learn as we should as children.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that makes sense.
hmm And I do talk to people who in adulthood. Well, I'll talk about myself.
Yeah.
I it I carried that idea with me into adulthood, Abby. Like, my job was to take care of everybody else around me and to make everybody feel good. And if I had something that was, I love the word you used, a big emotion like anger or frustration or something like that, taking me, I'm still not there, taking me years to be able to express it without
Yeah.
feeling bad or ashamed or anything like that.
Yeah, because that's absolutely something as an adult that I struggle with too. It's that felt boundaries and feeling like I need everyone in my circle needs to feel good, right? We need to be safe
Yeah.
and comforted, and I can do that. I'm good at that, and I am.
Yeah.
Um, not so well, even with my children, but not so good at the if I'm angry or upset or something negative is happening there. Expressing that is difficult.
It's tough. I feel you on it. We're working on it though.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yes.
and honestly, that is I actively practice
Mhm.
in phases, I guess, but I do. I actively practice like trying to let somebody know if I'm upset. I'm practicing. I wouldn't say
Hey,
I mastered that.
good for you. But I mean, what I love about what you just said, Abby, is that you are recognizing that your feelings are valid, that you have the right to those feelings. That is such a huge step, I think, in the healing process. So good for you.
Thank you.
Okay, let me read a couple more.
Okay.
I received praise based on how much I helped my sibling. I was afraid that if I wasn't perfect, I was failing my family.
Yeah, definitely with the second half.
Mhm.
I think I received praise for things I did on my own, but definitely in addition to helping my sibling
Mhm.
and doing things for him. Right? I mean, I would get praise for doing the show or being good at school. But I definitely felt like the praise was warranted when I was perfect and when I
Mhm.
was helping my family out.
Yeah,
That was when I felt like I had earned it or it was deserved.
got it. Mm, that is powerful. Let me read the next one to you.
Yeah.
I felt constant pressure to be perfect.
Yes. That there you
You're like,
go.
bingo.
There it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, I very rarely didn't underperform,
Mhm.
and um I wouldn't say I was punished when I underperformed, but it was more I remember my mom would just get really, really angry with me, and I mean, not any angrier than other parents get with their kids. I don't want to make it sound bad, but she would absolutely express her disappointment and just be frustrated with me. Yeah.
Yeah. So these fall under the heading of performance-based worth.
Hmm.
And what's common amongst glass children is that because there's so much pressure to help with the caretaking process, we begin to believe that our value and our worth is based on how well we perform instead of on the fact that God created us as amazing, wonderful, beautiful beings worthy of love.
Yeah.
And so that can lead to some challenges in adulthood for some people where they have this drive for perfectionism, drive to achieve. And if perfectionism isn't achieved, then they're devastated and not realizing that devastation is coming from a sense of, well, I failed. And so now my value is less than it was.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly it. And I have struggled in my adult life with that. I am better now because I wanted to model something different for my children. So I don't struggle with that as much now, but absolutely I tied my worth to my production and my ability to be
Mhm.
perfect and do things all the right way.
Like giving ourselves permission to fail
Hmm.
is important
Hmm.
because we're going to fail. We're
Because we're going to fail.
human.
Yeah.
I, failure is part of the human experience, and giving ourselves that permission is important. And it sounds like you're making great progress and you're giving that gift to your children, which
Right.
is beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. May I read a couple more?
Please.
Okay. All right. My caregivers look to me for emotional comfort. I felt pressure to minimize my caregiver's stress by behaving perfectly, not sharing my difficult emotions, and being as helpful as possible. I felt responsible for my caregiver's happiness.
So I think I definitely felt responsible for minimizing stress for my mom and trying to, keep her happy. She was good. She didn't really share like or have adult conversations with me in the sense of oversharing, right? She was great about that. Um, she didn't really share her emotions with me either, though,
Mm.
right? So, um, but she and still won't acknowledge it within herself.
Mm.
And so there was never any air or any place to talk about it. Even to a little degree of like, hey, mommy's having a hard night. Like that wasn't a thing, right? So kind of the opposite of oversharing the emotions of just not sharing any emotions.
Clamp down.
Mm-hmm.
That was how she was coping.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's how she coped. Yeah.
Mm. So those fall under the category of parentification.
Yeah.
And parentification, as you may know, but maybe the audience doesn't know, is when a child is given adult responsibilities. And so we often think about parentification in terms of caregiving.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's a juggling, of right keeping your siblings safe, because I did a lot of when she worked, I was home with him from the time again, probably 9 or 10, right? After school, being in charge of babysitting him or watching him, whatever. Um, Keeping him safe, making sure he didn't go out and wander, or making sure he didn't try and cook anything, because that might have happened once or twice. Oops. And taking care of my mom, making sure she didn't have to come home again and deal with anything extra that I could handle. Um, and I'm not sure she recognized that that happened because I never said it or verbalized it. And so she probably doesn't know and doesn't realize. But that absolutely was a common theme growing up for me.
Yeah. So, from what I'm hearing, like you worked very hard to be perfect. You made yourself small. You didn't allow yourself to share difficult emotions. And when you did, they were kind of minimized, not taken seriously. And you had a lot of caregiving responsibilities.
Hmm.
No wonder you had teenage angst. I mean,
Yeah,
that's not a surprise to me at all that you had this moment when you were growing up where, whether it was conscious or subconscious, where you said, I've had enough. Like I need something different in my life because this isn't working for me anymore.
exactly. 1,000%. Yeah. Thank you for recognizing that, because that is the thing that's not seen. And there were, I mean, during my teenage years of like, oh, you were such a good little girl. You were such a nice little girl. I mean, I was always nice. I was never not nice. I was just sneaky. But thank goodness there's no TikTok back then or Instagram or any of that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh. But yes, those were the comments I heard: is you were such a nice little girl. You were such a sweet little girl. What happened? Blah, blah, blah. Remember those terrible teenage years. And
And how would you answer that question now? I mean, we really dug into some stuff, Abby. If somebody said to you, you today, like right now, Abby, you were such a good little girl. You were such a nice little girl. What happened when you became a teenager?
So my mom and stepdad still do make those comments to me, and I still shut down. I just laugh it off, right? To anybody else in the world, I would say I was trying to figure out who I was as a person and deciding whether I was worth enough to live or not. Because that's really what it came down to, right? I mean, um, yeah, obviously I decided it was worth it to live, but I would just say I was trying to survive my teenage years and get through the other side as unscathed as possible. And so needing to fold inward. Yeah.
I want to sit with what you just said. If you were talking to anybody else, you would say that you were trying to figure out who you are and whether or not you were worthy of staying alive.
Yeah.
Abby, that's powerful. And that's a lot for a teenager to carry. I just want to honor that experience with you because I have a feeling, did you have any adults that you could talk to about that? About your trying to decide whether you were worthy of being alive? Or did you navigate that by yourself?
I absolutely held that close to my chest. I mean, there was an adult here or there, odd teachers, right, throughout the years that I could talk to and share a little bit about my feelings and whatnot, but I never shared that piece with anybody.
Mhm.
No, that I absolutely kept close to me. Yeah.
And I'm so glad that however you muddled through that, that you did, and that you made the decision that you were worthy of living and being here. And I want to say to parents who are listening, this is really important. Um, just because your kid looks okay does not mean that they're okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's huge. It's
And,
huge.
and just because your kid says they're okay when you ask them if they're okay, it doesn't mean that they're okay.
Mhm.
And I think, Abby, your story is a perfect example of that. You were not okay. I mean, you were on that knife's edge of deciding whether you had enough value to exist.
Yeah.
And no one had a clue.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so, parents, listen to this story. You have to probe with your kids, and you may not want to hear the things that they say. You may not want to hear their answers, but do you want your child to be alive and survive or not?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll share, and this isn't necessarily related to being a sibling, but my oldest daughter has special needs, and so I've got two daughters that are 3 years apart, and we had a very difficult, lots of behaviors from my oldest daughter and whatnot growing up, and so my youngest daughter, who's now 18, I absolutely tried to be aware of her growing up, of her experience growing up, right, based on mine. And, a couple of years ago, we got to the point where I'm saying, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "I'm fine. I'm fine." I'm like, I know that one.
Mhm.
And really called her out on it and didn't let her get away with "I'm okay," and it did result in a hospitalization and lots of therapy. And she has, we have a dog now, and she's good. I mean, we're really open in our household about it. But pushing her and not letting her get away with "I'm fine," because that absolutely would have been the easiest thing to do, I think has made all the difference for her life.
Just an obvious kind of a question.
Hmm.
Are you glad that you pushed to get to a real answer?
Yes. Yes. And she was angry with me. I mean, we're a year and a half out from it now.
Mhm.
And she was angry with me up until probably a month ago. And she finally said, Mom, I'm still really angry. I'll always be angry with you. And I know you made the right decision because if you hadn't, I wouldn't be here now.
Oh. Oh.
I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have known if I didn't have my own experience to fall back on and be able to call BS. Yeah.
Wow. I have so much respect for you, Abby,
Thank you.
and like your courage and your strength to go through your childhood the way that you did, to have children of your own, because many glass children do not,
Hmm.
to have children of your own, to have one of those children be a high needs child and the other not, and to have the courage to confront the things that you did. I mean, it sounds to me like you saved your daughter's life.
I think I did. Definitely not easy, but
Right.
worth it. Worth it.
Mm. You gave your daughter the gift of being seen. Mm.
Yeah. And you know what? I have to say, in turn, she gives me the gift of being seen. She says, she's really comes to me at times. I mean, she's 18, make no mistake. But she has come to me on a couple of occasions and said, Mom, I see how hard you're working. I see how much you're doing and I love you. And, you know, um, I've been able to create, so this is where I'm going to cry. I've been able to create the life, or I've worked really hard. I haven't been perfect, but to create the life for her and the relationship with her that I would have liked to have growing up. Because it's not her fault. And there are struggles that are inherent in being a glass child that I don't think that there's enough armor in the world that can protect us, right? But trying to shield her from as much as possible. I feel like I've done pretty okay with that.
Mm. I'm so proud of you.
I hope I have. Yeah,
I am
thanks.
so proud of you. Wow. Let's wrap up with just two last questions. Okay.
Yes.
What advice do you have for parents of high needs children who have other children that are not high needs?
You're for what I would implore those parents to do is to make sure that your child without high needs is seen, right? And by that I mean have the conversations, be open with them about, give them permission to have feelings, give them permission to mess up and be complete disasters, give them permission to be angry and let them have their feelings. And, yes, spend one on one time with them. Yes, do special things, let them do sports, do all that stuff, but also create an environment where they are allowed to be fallible human beings who can be messy and imperfect and still loved no matter what. That is the biggest piece of advice I can give.
I want to put that on a t-shirt and just wear it everywhere.
I know. I know. Yeah.
God, that was beautiful. That was spot on. Okay. And then if you could give a young glass child, and you can pick any age, you can pick teenage, you can pick young adult, 20 something. If you could give them advice, what would you say to them?
I would say to that young glass child, you are a worthy human in your own right. And you deserve all the attention You deserve all the success, and you deserve all of the failure that another person, any other person on this world deserves. And you deserve to be loved for just who you are. And if it were a little one, a little glass sibling, a young one, I would just say you follow your heart and be you, even if you're a little messy, because life gets easier and it gets better.
Mhm.
And it's okay if you love your sibling to death, and it's okay if you don't love your sibling. You are perfect just the way you are for being alive.
Beautiful. Abby, thank you. Thank you for being willing to be on the podcast. Thank you for being willing to dive a little bit deeper into your experiences. I mean, I saw you kind of go through not a transformation, but maybe an evolution of your perspective, because you started off by saying, I'm okay, everything's great.
Yeah.
Those weren't your exact words, right? But kind of the glass child answer, right? Like
Yeah.
everything's great. I'm a better person for everything that I went through, and life is good. And you started off from that perspective, and then as we dug a little bit deeper, which you allowed me to do with you, just kind of like take that shovel and excavate some,
Yeah.
shared more. And I am really honored that you were willing to do that with me. And I want to thank you for that, because I think your willingness to do that and your honesty in that process is what's going to help other adult glass children look at their experience from that perspective as well. So thank you.
Well, and I want to say thank you. Thank you for allowing me to come on your podcast and share, to share my story. And thank you for giving voice to stories that need to be shared. And, I I can comfortably say I think most glass children, just the ability to share our story and our perspective is a very healing process. Right. So thank you. And thank you for your guidance and your questions too. I appreciate you so much.
How are you feeling? Remember, if you're struggling, reach out to a mental health professional. You do not have to do this alone. Thank you for being with me today. And don't forget to share this episode with your bestie, your therapist, your teachers, your minister. Sharing is caring, and hearing is healing. This is the I See Glass Children podcast. I'm Alicia Meneses Maples, and I see you. God sees you, and Jesus loves you.